NBA season tipped off last night. Pelicans tip off tonight in Chicago against the Bulls. Good chance to catch up with our buddy Scott Kushner, Polk Kush Podcast. Well, Scotty's going to be contributing with us over at LouisianaSports.net this NBA season as well. Looking forward to reading his stuff. Hey, man, thanks for the time. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic.
I bet
Matt,
you
how
are.
you today?
I bet you are doing fantastic. You still smell like smoke?
It's my whole house is just still on fire. That's it, you know?
Scott is a...
I lit a cigar in my house. My wife was very impressed.
Wait, did you really light a cigar in your house?
I tried. It was immediately slapped out of my hand.
Well, you
Go
also...
outside.
You're a father of small children. Like,
Yes.
You need not be smoking. Scott is a Tennessee alum and a proud Vol, so a big week for him after a decade or so of losing every year to Nick Saban, now 2 out of 3. If there's anybody in the state happier about that Tennessee win than me, it's you. So congratulations on that.
Although we did it together, man.
We did. But I actually did smoke the cigar indoors. That's the thing I did in this studio on Monday, which was fantastic. I don't know that we're going to have much of an opportunity to smoke celebratory cigars for these Pelicans, but who knows? Let's get wild. Maybe they surprise us. And the great thing, Scott, is the season tips off tonight, and so we don't have to worry about injuries, right? They're super healthy.
Yeah, no, that's how it goes, right? Every other sport, that's just, opening night, everybody's good to go. No, the Pelicans, of course, are missing 3 of their top 7, I'd say. And, I don't think they've been confirmed out yet, but it would be pretty surprising if they chance anything. Trey Murphy will definitely be out, but then Jose Alvarado has a lingering, I think it's a leg thing. I honestly can't even remember at this point. And then Zion Williamson is a non-COVID illness.
You don't say.
He just kind of hasn't been around the last couple days, so I don't know what's going on over there. But they
cool.
If you can be snake bit, the Pelicans usually find a way.
DeJounte Murray is on the injury report as well. Said he's a game-time decision. Let's talk a little bit about DeJounte Murray. It's a big get for New Orleans. What does he add?
He's a point guard, man, and that's, I think, what we've talked about for at least 2 years is the concept of having a guy who what he wants to do more than anything is distribute. And, I think there's always a little bit of a hearkening back to Chris Paul around here when you think of NBA basketball and how good he was at kicking it around and getting the team involved and all that, and they really just haven't had a main distributor. The best they've been offensively is when Zion has been running the point, which is very successful because he draws so much attention, but it's not as if he's a world-class passer. It's not as if he's really a natural point guard. I think it's more that he evolved into the role, and he's so good with the ball in his hands generally at scoring that it does help to have him with the ball. But Murray is way more of a guy who wants to be a point guard and wants to be the distributor and wants to be all of those things and can set up teammates. And I think he says he was not in like a natural position in Atlanta the last few years playing next to Trae Young, who obviously has the ball in his hands constantly. And he was more pushed aside and kind of turned into a shooter and a secondary player. He's going to be more of a focal point this year. But, there's one basketball, and that becomes problematic and very confusing as to how we think that this whole thing is going to unfold over 82 games.
The other interesting part about the way the roster is constructed right now is, look, Jonas is no longer here. And, Scott, they really don't have a true big. Media Day, David Griffin talked about them playing kind of without a center, like they were going to sort of figure it out. I mean, how does this work? I mean, it's
crazy.
Doesn't this feel like didn't Houston try to do this like with the small lineup and they got eviscerated in a Western Conference loaded with dominant bigs?
Teams have done it, and they've mostly done it in stretches, right? As compared to where you don't have the option. Those teams, even the Golden State teams, which we always think is small ball, to its core. That is the most distilled, perfect version of small ball was that Warriors death lineup with Draymond at the 5. But they didn't play Draymond at the 5 the whole game. They had Kevon Looney, they've had Andrew Bogut. Like, as they went through, and, JaVale McGee, they had different guys who were natural centers who could play 10 to 12 minutes a night and do things when you needed to match up against the right team. Because against the wrong matchup now, they have no answer. for how to get a rebound. And I think it's more so the rebounding than it is anything else, because I do think scoring-wise it's not going to affect them at all to be this small. They've got so many scorers on the floor, and they're going to be really hard to match up with. But just the fact that you don't have the versatility that if a team comes in and wants to play big, that you're going to have a really hard time defending it.
I'm sure it's going to go great against Denver.
Yeah, well, that was going badly anyway. It's not as if putting Valanciunas on him was particularly helping that cause.
Fair.
But just generally, there are teams out there who will just try to load up, play big, and grab, 30 offensive rebounds a night. And that's going to be really hard for them to mix and match, which is really what you want in an NBA roster more than anything, is the ability to match up when it's necessary. And they kind of just don't have that right now. And instead they have a whole bunch of guys who can score with the ball in their hand, and then they have nobody who can really kind of stand up there and grab a rebound when you desperately need one at the end of a possession.
He's Scott Kushner, Pelicans columnist, host of the Polk and Kush Podcast. Make sure you subscribe, favorite podcast app. Get it. You guys coming to YouTube this season as well?
We're going to try. We got to,
no try,
involve
only do.
Thinking about things. Yeah.
Miyagi, no try, only do.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Two more things here. Give me a thought on tonight. What are you interested in watching as the Pels take on the Bulls? Scott, they're a 5.5-point favorite on the road here on opening night.
Well, they're home.
My bad. They are at home. My bad.
Yeah. So then they go on the road for like 4 straight games. So it's really, without Zion playing, which I don't expect him to play, I don't know what they're going to look like. I mean, Brandon Ingram and Murray, they basically did not use the preseason in any way of previewing what the season's going to be like. So everything they do, almost every possession, is going to be kind of an illuminating thing to watch. The Bulls are not a particularly good team. They're also a little bit of a mess. And the Pelicans should be able to outscore them at home, I would think. And I think it should be entertaining to watch on at least, the level of curiosity. But yeah, I mean, who knows what to make of it. The preseason was such a strange thing. Ingram sat most of it. Then they brought him back, but Zion was out. So it's been a whole, it's very opaque.
You like the new TV deal with Gray?
I do, as a rabbit ears person. I've been a rabbit ears person, but I told my dad, for example, I was like, to get the Pelicans games, you're going to need an antenna. And he was like, oh, what? I was like, yeah, I'll put it in your house. He's like, nah, don't worry about it. I was like, well, you go to like 40 Pelicans games a year. He's like, nah, don't worry about it. I was like, no, like you should. So it's going to be a little bit of a learning curve. I do like the idea that the games are free as compared to Valley, and I think it does make more sense. But it's going to be, you got to kind of explain to people how to do it. And hopefully the people across the state can figure it out, because I know it's on a lot of small channels. So it's a weird deal.
Last thing before you go, set your mark. What's a season-long expectation for this team? Do you have a win total projection or a playoff projection?
I saw the over-under was 45 the last I looked. That's probably about right. I actually think they're going to be a really good regular season team who's going to have trouble matching up in the postseason. But I think they're going to be able – they have so many guys that you can withstand injuries. So I think they're going to probably win about what they won last year, which was 49. So I think they could be a 48, 49-win team, and maybe that's good enough to be the 6. And I think that's probably the goal, is to be somewhere between the 5 and the 6. And that would be, I think, a really successful season, but also a season where you're sort of in the wilderness at the end of it, which is where you ended up last year with 49 wins, but everyone's kind of looking around entering this season going like, did we accomplish anything? What's going on here? It just feels a little directionless.
Well, it all starts tonight, right amid football season, because that makes so much sense to start the NBA.
Right before the World Series. That's when we want to start the NBA. Right. The middle of football and right before the World Series. Let's be as irrelevant as possible. That's perfect for the NBA.
Meanwhile, we'll all still sit around looking at each other in July going, man, I wish the NBA Finals was happening right now.
It's unbelievable, man.
Somehow they've managed to make it work, though, in a really successful league that keeps getting younger and more profitable. But here's hoping for the Pels. All right, Scott, we appreciate it, man. Thanks for the time.
Thanks, Matt. Talk to you soon.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.